Welcome to another edition of the Effective Living series. This is your springboard for the year 2022. It's on City Television, on the Breakfast Daily Show, and on the City Breakfast Show as well. My name is Bernard Avle. This is our third week, and we are looking at rebuilding professionally. Don't forget, the whole series is on building back greater, and we're talking about how to rebuild your profession in the face of COVID-19, layoffs, and shutdowns. My guest today will be helping us appreciate future fit career planning. What on earth does that mean? She will tell us now. She is the co-founder and CEO of Crescendo Consult. They are a financial advisory, executive coaching and consulting firm. She herself has worked in this field for about 20 years, doing some very important work in Ghana. Doris Ahiati is my guest. Doris, great to have you.
Good to be here.
Hope you're fine.
Very well. Thank you.
The year started well?
Definitely, by the grace of God.
We thank God.
Alive and well.
Brilliant. So today you're talking about future fit career planning. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of thing you do, right? One of the things you do is career. So when we say we are talking about a future fit career plan, what are we talking about?
When we talk about future fit career planning, we want to look at what a lot of people are already used to in terms of charting a path for the course of their career life, from when they complete their training or education and they enter the workforce up till when they exit the workforce. And we say future fit career plan to suggest that the kind of career plan that you need to design in the digital economy differs significantly from the traditional.
We'll come to the details.
Yes.
We're talking about rebuilding professional in the face of COVID-19. How significant is this conversation at this time?
Thank you very much. I think it's a very topical issue to discuss at this particular time in the Effective Living series, week 3, particularly because of all the changes that is happening around us. I believe City put together the program focusing on career because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
And I like to say that we need to even look beyond the disruption caused by COVID-19 to make this topic relevant. Because before COVID-19, the global pandemic, we had been ushered into the digital economy. And as you'd know, there's a lot of technological disruption that we have in this particular age. There is the advent of artificial intelligence competing with human intelligence. We also have the robotics, and robotics beginning to dominate. And we've seen the use of robotics in managing people that are suffering from COVID-19, for example. And so you see the steady reduction in the level of employment of humans, and you see more and more an increasing degree of employment of artificial intelligence and the robotics. And somebody like Elon Musk, for example, is predicting that a time may come when the level of employment for the robotics and artificial intelligence will be so high at the expense of human employment declining so low that we may have to consider a scenario where governments give a universal basic income.
Wow.
Yes.
Is that serious?
Yes, it could be that
More
serious.
robots to be employed than people.
Precisely.
Amazing.
And while we may not be already there, you can see that we are moving in that direction. And so when you think about these, it becomes very important that the future professional doesn't chart their career path based on the traditional. And in just a moment, if I can highlight the differences between the traditional.
So there's a traditional career plan and there's a future fit career plan.
Exactly.
And you've identified some key differences.
Yes.
All right. So what are they?
There's a lot of predictability in what we'll call the traditional career path.
Okay.
Traditionally, you anticipate that you would go to work from about 8 a.m. in the morning and close around 5 p.m. And during those hours between 8 and 5, you focus your energies in contributing to your employer.
Okay.
You also anticipate that you would work from age about 18 till about 60, 65, depending on where you reside on the globe. In Ghana, the mandatory retirement age is 60 for now.
Yes.
And so you would expect that that will be
your traditional path.
Yes. And you would expect that by the time you are in your late 30s, early 40s, you are at the point that we call middle management. You would have been rising through the ranks, especially if you have also been upgrading yourself through additional training.
Yeah.
And so you get some extra qualification and you get promoted almost automatically. And so by 40, 45, you are mid-career. And if you are somebody that excels before you retire, you are at the peak of your career, you probably are in the C-suite and you retire. In some organizations, they would actually have a retirement, a pension package for you, which would be outside the state, tier 1, tier 2, and if you are lucky, tier 3. Some companies actually had pension packages for if you stayed your entire life with them. So there is that predictability in what used to be. There was also security. Nobody is going to come rock your boat, especially not along the lines of performance. So long as you are loyal and you are friendly, you can hang around, you will survive. You may not rise as much as you could because the performance bit is not supportive, but nobody is going to rock your boat. But unfortunately, that is not what the future career path offers you. Then we also sort of had management, a certain management focus in the traditional career path. And so we are more tactical. We respect a lot of rationalization, logical thinking at the expense of being visceral, trusting your gut kind of thing. And emotions didn't come to play at all. It was a command and control kind of approach. And you have to walk the narrow path. There was a bit of a linear predictability in what pertains in the traditional career path. But all these are significantly changing.
In the Future Fit Career Plan.
And the Future Fit Career Plan requires you, not like the age of industrialization where we compartmentalized functions and we had divisions and there were silos and specializations.
Finance, production, marketing, sales. They sometimes don't even talk to each other. They don't even meet each other in the whole year.
Now, the Future Fit Career Path requires that there's interaction. There's a blending of these divisions that industrialization brought about. And so we have this lady, Yvette Salvato, who she's a co-founder of the Future School. And she had spent some years working in the Future Workforce Insight Department of Walt Disney before she founded the Future School. And in her work, she recommends that you use an approach which says sense, mesh, and then transform.
Sense, mesh, transform.
And then transform. I will delve a little deeper into it, but the sense, mesh, and transform is a way of getting you to see how we need to blur the divisions. Instead of being specialized in one function and being satisfied, the Future Fit career requires you to have a gamut or a portfolio of different skill sets, like what a consultant needs to deliver their commitment. And so you need to have diverse skill sets, both the human, interpersonal, emotional intelligence. You need the IQ, the rational, and you also need the emotional intelligence to be able to survive in that future. And so when you talk about sensing, it basically means that you need to be able to scan your environment. The social, the environmental, the political, technological landscape, and be able to identify moving trends, and not in isolation, but how the trends interact with each other so that you can see a broader pattern. And we are also not going to focus on how these patterns immediately affect life. but you should be able to project into the distant future to see how these will evolve and pan out. And based on that, position yourself so that you don't miss any of the phases of disruptions. And we are going to have a series of them. I mean, we talk about the complexities that we currently face in our lives, not only emanating from pandemics like the COVID-19. We have warnings that there are more ahead. We also have the climate issue that we have to deal with. Population is projected to be hitting something like 9 billion by 2060.
Oh, Lord.
60% of our population in the world is projected to be living in mega cities. So smart cities using technology for everything. And that changes the whole dynamics of the job landscape. Now there's remote working that has become the norm. And so you need to keep all these at the back of your mind and see how you straddle them in order to excel.
Okay.
And to also remain relevant and significant.
So just to summarize, you've given us the characteristics of a traditional career plan. And you're saying that for the future fit career plan, it's almost like opposite of the traditional. So whereas the traditional is predictable, there's security and it's your comfort zone, and it's hierarchical and manager focused, the future fit one is unpredictable. It works with teams. It's flatter.
Yeah.
And it requires more self-leadership. All right. Now, you've also hinted as to what skills a person needs to have. But I wanted to elaborate on this. So, what are some of the qualities and skills you need to have to set yourself apart, as you were trying to elaborate, in this new, they call it VUCA world? What are some of the key skills that a person needs? Because, of course, the career plan has the objective, but it also has certain skills you need to acquire in the plan. So if you can elaborate on some of those.
I'll start with trust.
Okay.
There's an institution, the Edelman Trust Barometer, that measures annually the level of trust that we have in institutions. And over the years, there has been a steady decline in the level of trust. And so in organizations and in most roles, we are looking for who is the most trustworthy person to be entrusted with the greatest responsibility. And therefore, if you want to excel on the values side or on the qualities, the character side, you need to show that you are trustworthy. You need to show, so I was using the acronym TROL, T for trustworthiness, R for reliability, O for open-mindedness, and L for leadership.
So these are the top qualities. Troll.
Yes.
Not trolling on social media.
Exactly.
Trust, reliable, open-minded, and leadership. Interesting.
Yes.
On the quality side.
Yes.
Most valuable skills in a future fit career.
Yes. We need originality. We need you to be authentic. So there's so much fake out there.
Yeah.
And you can always take what belongs to another person and claim it to be yours. But as far as ethical standards go, we are also looking for who is authentic and who can we really depend on. And so you see that when it comes to sales these days, people are depending more on recommendations and referrals than their advert. We really need somebody that we trust to say that, yes, what the advert says is what it is. And so when it comes to responsibilities and roles at work as well, we are looking for that person who is most trustworthy to be given the biggest responsibility.
So those are on the quality side. What about on the skills side?
When we come to the skills side, there's a lot of thinking that comes in. And I'm sure in a bit we can get into the survey that was done by Bloomberg.
Okay.
And so on the skills side, we need you to have the capacity for critical thinking, for analytical thinking, to be able to problem solve. So you are able to evaluate whatever challenges, whatever problems are in the environment. You have the capacity to not reinvent a wheel, but innovate on the wheel principle and use it to address the more complex challenges, problems that we face in our world today. So there is that thinking side. Then there is the relating side where your interpersonal skills have to be top notch. You need to be able to understand your own emotions, be self-aware enough to appreciate your emotions and that of others, be able to manage these emotions for your mutual growth, to be able to manage conflicts that will arise, be able to organize yourself, organizational skills, your activities, be able to plan, know what should be given priority and what should be deprioritized, and not being rigid. So you are agile and you are flexible and nimble in your approach so that you can accommodate a sudden short notice requirement to change your priorities and to reallocate your time.
Wow. That's
to be able to bounce back quickly, resilience. These are the qualities, the skills that you need in order to enhance the relationship that you have, to be able to collaborate. You know, Sustainable Development Goals has Goal 17 as partnerships. So you need to be able to work with like-minded and counter-minded people and to still be able to work towards addressing challenges that face us today.
Wow.
So that would be on the relating side as well. And then we have the bit that would be touching on digital acumen.
Digital acumen.
Digital acumen.
I like that.
Not too long ago, the emphasis was on commercial acumen, your ability to spot opportunities and harness them for business benefits. And now digital acumen, which is defined as your ability to employ technology in a safe manner, in a smart manner, and in a respectful way. Often I hear people talk about how social media is being used in this part of the world. What is the returns that the typical social media user is getting for their usage of social media? And that gives you an idea of how smartly or otherwise we are using social media.
Wow.
Safety, the extent of crime cyber-wise that is happening and how you're able to navigate your digital footprint so that you don't expose yourself, you don't leave a trail for people to take advantage of you.
Wow.
And then there is the respect side where people forget that on the digital space, it is not some machine that you are addressing. Even sometimes Siri will prompt my children when they are chatting that, I mean, that was not too kind. And so we need to be
nice.
Yes, that was not nice. So we need to be mindful of how we communicate even on the digital platforms as well.
This is the Effective Living series, and this is our third week on rebuilding professionally. My guest, Doris Ahiati. This morning, we're trying to understand how to develop a future-fit career plan. She's contrasted a normal career plan from a future-fit career plan, and she's spoken about the qualities in character and as well as the skills you need to be future-fit. You hinted to some of the contents of the Bloomberg study, but I wanted to touch a bit more on that. You said there was a Bloomberg study on future-fit work skills, and I think you sort of gleaned some of that already. So is this for just technological jobs or all kinds of jobs? Because you said you must be digital, have a digital acumen, you must be relational. When was this study done? That sounds like an interesting...
Yes, I would have to pull that and share it with you later. But the key aspect of the study that I want to touch on briefly, the must-have qualities.
Because I see thinking, I see doing,
yes.
I see relating, and then I see the digital acumen as the 4 highlights of the study.
So if we should dive a little deeper into it, we've made reference to creativity in thinking.
Yes.
But I think one thing I haven't highlighted is independence in your thinking.
Okay.
Independence in your thinking, suggesting that you should have moments when you can reflect on your own.
Okay.
And not just digesting and creating solutions that solely originate from you, but also making use of input, views that other people have shared with you.
Okay.
And that at the end of reflecting, that you are able to draw conclusions that are originating from you.
All right.
And these could be the conclusions that serve as solutions to complex problems that we have in our community, societies, or the workplace.
All right.
I think that was something that's important to highlight. And then also demonstrating an appropriate sense of judgment. In the workplace, and those of us coming from the professional backgrounds, there are periodic tests that we do to see, is this ethical? Would you do this if you knew that it would be published in the newspapers? How would you feel if your family got to know about what you are doing. Demonstrating the appropriate sense of judgment is delicate, and yet it's a habit and a quality that you can develop with practice. And it seeks to ensure that you are being fair and equitable in the way you carry about your activities, both in the workplace and outside of the workplace. Then I want to go to the doing side.
Okay.
Doing side, adaptability. Because,
Adaptability.
yes, we have rapid changes happening in our environment. And so in view of the changes that are happening, COVID-19 happened, we have to suddenly switch to remote work. How quickly are you able to adapt to this kind of change, to survive and to move on? I made reference to planning and organizing time, so I will not touch on that.
Yes.
Communication. With what clarity are you able to express yourself? There are those who will say, I prefer to write, so only written communication. I prefer face-to-face, but in the days of remote work, you may not always have that. Some people will tell you that even on virtual video platforms, the rapport between two parties is not exactly like when you are, should I say, body to body in
when
a
you
room.
are talking to somebody directly.
There's a difference. And yet you need to be adaptable to all these different scenarios of work. Negotiation skills. Being able to win somebody over to your side, being able to influence people positively so that you can get a buy-in for a certain action or solution that needs to be deployed. And then there is the learning bit. I can't emphasize that enough. Our opening conversation was pointing in a certain direction. I'm a lifelong learner, and I like to say I learn from everything, everybody, and different
So you learn for a
situations.
living?
I learn for a living.
You're a learner?
I think life is about learning. And
we should put L on your car. You're a learner.
I like that. And I think that's also the mindset that we need to be future fit as far as we do our career planning. Because 4 years, you go to school, you learn, you graduate. And these days, in 6 months, knowledge has become obsolete.
Charlie.
And so you need to keep in step with that disruption that we are having also in the learning world. There's new research, there are new discoveries, new inventions, innovations you yourself should be contributing to. And so your mind has to be that open to learn as you go along. And as far as learning goes, I also want to talk about the role that open-mindedness contributes to learning.
Okay.
So if you are not flexible and open in your approach, you feel that what you know is enough. What you know is all that is needed to excel. But so I'm a specialist and this is my field. This is the only area that matters. You need to learn to respect the other fields and the difference and contribution that they will make in order to help you come up with the most effective solutions to the complex problems that we face in our world today.
Let's come to the conclusion. So what is the key points you want to highlight for people who don't know where to start from? I've just heard all of these nice things. I'm in the middle of some layoff, or I'm tired of my job, I want to start something else, or I don't feel safe. I feel that maybe in the next year I may be asked to go home because the job is changing. Do I call somebody? How do I start? What's your advice to people like that?
My recommendation would be that you start with your character.
Okay.
The reason being that some of the qualities and values that we said you need to develop, like trust, being reliable, and being open-minded, leadership, self-leadership, these are qualities that come with consistent practice. Nobody is born with all these skills. Some people may have an advantage at birth, but you can develop the skills. The neuroscientists will tell you if you did it consistently for 21 days, you will develop new neural pathways that make you now naturally do it by habit. And so we're talking about self-leadership, responsibility, problem solving. These are things you can start practicing in your home, in your workplace, you can start intentionally. And when you start building new skills, you have to be intentional about it. So usually you would defer to your manager to address every problem that you have. Start by intentionally telling yourself, I'm going to have a go at this. Even if I'm required to pass it by my manager, I will go there with a suggested way of resolving it. And so you build on that. And before you know, it's become a habit. Same for trustworthiness. Letting your yea be yea and your nay be nay. You can be intentional with it, and you would see that over time your colleagues, immediate peers will begin to see that there's something shifting. So that you begin to form habits out of these. And once they become a natural part of you, they would make it easier for you to access your next opportunity. Likewise for leadership qualities. If you are learning to lead yourself and you are learning to take responsibility, where in the past you would wait for someone to come and hold your hand, it begins to show. And that sense of responsibility attracts that opportunity, which would now entrust the roles and responsibilities into your care, because you're already demonstrating that sense of responsibility. The second part that I also want to draw attention to listeners to focus on is your portfolio of skills.
Your portfolio of skills. Okay.
We are moving away from, I'm a specialist in this, so that's all that I need. To be able to freelance and provide your services in the world that we are going into, where jobs are rapidly changing and you should be thinking of 5 jobs before you retire at the minimum. You need diverse skills. Okay. And so you can begin to look at how you diversify your current portfolio of skill set. Okay. Maybe you come from a finance background like myself. I think I have delved deeper and deeper into people development, where there's the coaching and leadership development. So you can also identify your strengths. And I like to say that this is where purpose comes in. There are so many things that could distract you, but if you go in the direction of your purpose in life, and coaches are able to support you to identify that purpose, and it often is tied or intertwined with your strengths, it becomes easier to filter out and not waste time on those things where you don't excel because you don't have strengths.
If you want to contact Doris, she's at Crescendo Consult. We'll put the number on the screen for those of you watching on television. For those of you on social media, you can look for Crescendo Consult or just look for Doris Ahiati. She's the CEO and co-founder. They are into financial advisory, executive coaching, and also they do consulting for various sectors. Thank you. It's been a pleasure listening to you as always. Hope you've enjoyed today's edition of the Effective Living series, which has been on City Breakfast Show and also on the Breakfast Daily. We'll see you next time with another edition. Bye-bye.